It's funny. Gary said I'm buzzing to get up here. My resting heart rate is normally about 65. It's 151. So where's the doctor here? Where's the doctor? I'm close. I definitely didn't have 4 pints of Guinness, Gary, by the way, but I will after this. So I basically, resilience, I think we all have different views, different opinions, different thoughts on what resilience is. Basically, I'm going to share just 5 parts in my journey, I suppose, in my life, very quickly. So I've got about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes for each point. And basically how I've, I suppose, grown, and you know, no one's life is rainbows and sunshine. We all have trials and tribulations. So suppose whenever I was a child, sort of 8, 9, 10, 11, just going to go straight into it, I was badly abused physically. So I was beat by my mum's husband. He was very violent, physically and mentally. Things that would have happened where, for example, a chair thrown at me, head split open, head put through the window, you know, thrown off walls, different things. I was locked in my room every night, 6 o'clock, laid out in bed. Very, very tough. Didn't speak to anybody about this. I didn't think that anyone in my family would believe me. I was just a sort of very young child, and you know, didn't think that adults would listen to a child and hear their story. At school, I was just nuts. You know, I couldn't vent, I couldn't talk. So, you know, in early secondary school, I think one of the years I had 50 odd detentions. On the way home from detention, one particular time, I got another detention for graffiti on a wall, and the vice principal drove past. I was on principal report, which didn't exist. It was only vice principal report. I was suspended twice and I was expelled. Now, it wasn't because I was a wee rip, well, it was, but it was very violent at home, and you know, I didn't think anyone would believe me. So I remember one day walking down the street, and I said to my mum, we were walking down past the supermarket, and I stopped. And I remember exactly where it was, outside the supermarket, and I said to my mum, I can't take this anymore. What can we do? And her words to me were, never forget them, Aaron, one day you'll grow up and leave me, he won't. So I was only, you know, 11 or 12, and I knew from that moment on that I had to dig in deep, because I knew what was coming. So, you know, at nights, it's funny, I would have read every single Famous Five book, every single Secret Seven, the Hardy Boys. Enid Blyton was kind of my hero. At night, I would have read a book in 2 nights. I read hundreds and hundreds of books. I listened to the radio. I was pretending that I was on the radio, and just really trying to get through. And I remember I couldn't take it anymore in my early teens, and I ran away. So I ran away, and I had nowhere to go. I ran away to Blackhead Path, but I tried to stay with friends, and the parents wouldn't let me. You need to go home. So I went home and went into our coal bunker, and I didn't know where to sleep. So I kind of thought, go on to the coal and get yourself all in comfy. And whatever happened anyway, my mum's husband, he heard me, came out. It was awful. So the next day, well, what happened next day at night was the police were rang by my mum saying that her son had run away. So the next day the police came out, and they, you know, spoke to me. I remember the policeman speaking to me, and he came back that night and said to my mum, could I take Aaron away and have a chat with him? So he took me to his house, to his wife and his 2 daughters, and he said, there's something, what are you not telling us? So I told him everything. It was the first person I ever told. And he said, you need to tell your family. You need to talk to your family. They will believe you. So I remember I was very close to my granny, my granda, my uncles. You know, very, very close family, but nobody knew what was going on. They knew that we didn't get on, but they didn't know what was going on. So I went round and I packed basically a bin liner with my clothes, sneaked out of the house, and I went to my grandparents, and I knocked the door. I never forget it. My granddad opened. He's like, well, son, how are you, whatever. And I broke down. and told him everything, and he believed me. Within an hour, my uncles were around, aunties, cousins, social services, the works, and from that moment, it was over. That was it. It was gone. Never had a detention again in my life. Never had a suspension. Never had an expulsion. Was never ever in trouble again. And that whole period, it taught me, you know, you think, you know, trying to do things on your own. Yeah, I believe, well, certainly for me anyway, surrounding yourself with good people, believing in people, or, you know, speaking to people, leaning on other people. I was going through this for 3 or 4 years on my own when I didn't need to. So I think just even in life, you know, you don't need to go through everything on your own. You can actually, you know, surround yourself with the right people. It's something I talk about. I say it probably most days. So that was from that sort of very early age, you know, my auntie then adopted me, brought me on, you know, had an amazing childhood then from then up. She was unbelievable, she was like a mum to me, and basically gave me a platform to, you know, grow. So it really taught me from a young age, being resilient, being strong, really believe in yourself, stand up for yourself, and, you know, really try and learn, you know, from those things. So as I got a little older, life was amazing, and I was 21, and I got diagnosed with cancer. So really then, it was really tough. Again, I found it hard to talk to people. I would have lain in the hospital bed at night and I would have been crying, but didn't want to, you know, speak to my family about it. It was really, really tough. I remember, I'm not really a religious person, but I remember that night actually praying. My son, my firstborn son, was due in about 3 months' time. I remember praying that I would just live to see him be born. He's 20 now, so, you know, that prayer was definitely answered. But that was a really, really tough time. You know, it was testicular cancer, so I had my ball removed. My wife always hates me talking about this because I always feel my balls when I talk about it. I always talk with my hands. So I have a ball removed. Again, you had the scans, CT scans, chest scans. You know, every it was every other day at one point. Then it was like every 6 weeks. Then it was every 3 months. Then it was every 6 months. And those times are terrifying. There's nothing worse than, you know, this brown envelope. My wife used to hide the envelope and then get me it the day before, because you got this envelope for an appointment 2 weeks later, and it just scared the crap out of me. But again, see, having cancer, it's absolutely life-changing. You know, you build up like an amazing strength, a resilience. For me, massive positivity. For me, it actually made me excel and grow. And, you know, I was being a bit dramatic, but I did think I was going to die. And thankfully, you know, the NHS, the doctors in Belfast City Hospital, absolutely unbelievable, and all the follow-ups thereafter in the cancer centre as well. And actually what's really been great out of that, I've done a lot of work now with friends at the cancer centre, raising awareness for testicular cancer. You know, posters, billboards, radio ads, TV ads, you know, the works. So it's great to be able to give a little back. But that, I would say, on its own, at 21 years of age, literally, randomly, set me up for life. Because I literally don't give a shit about, you know, we all, you know, trials and tribulations, but for me, I literally thought I was going to die, so I had a second chance. So I sort of chose to really embrace that, and to really, you know, cancer is a horrible thing. My granda died from it. Then obviously, you know, a couple of years later I got it, and I thought that was it, but it really made me a super, super strong person. I'm not glad I had cancer, but I'm glad with how I reacted to it and how it's made me the person I am today. So I'm going on to my third point here, five here, so I'll go through them very quickly. Not long after, my brother drowned. Sounds like a bit of EastEnders here, but he drowned. He was only 22. We were very close. He knew everything that was going on. I was growing up, and it's a bit of a sour moment because the last time I spoke to him, I was a bit short with him on the phone. I didn't have time. I had bought a house and I was decorating, and he was coming on the phone, giving it all. Well, Aaron, what's going on? Blah blah blah. And I was like, what do you want? What do you need? Do you need me? And then he drowned. That, it's, being that young, kind of brought stuff back to me, thinking, flip, I could have died a couple of years ago with cancer. And that just reaffirmed things for me that, you need to grab life by the balls, like genuinely. I only have one ball, so I grab my ball by both hands. Genuinely, honest to God, you need to grab life by the balls. You only get one chance. And that really affirmed it for me. Again, another dramatic time, but it's about taking the positives, drawing out the real positivity and just motoring on. So that's what I do. It's funny, everyone in my family always say, Aaron knows everybody. What do you need? Aaron will sort it. Aaron will do this. Aaron will do that. Aaron can do anything, but it's not actually true because, even tonight, honest to God, absolutely scared crapless to come up here. But I remember, and this is going on to my fourth part of my journey. I was sitting one night and we were talking in the living room with my wife, and we were talking about voiceovers. So Gary's mentioned I'm a voiceover. And my wife said, you could do that. You could really do that. So I looked into it and tried to do different things and wasn't really getting anywhere in Northern Ireland at all. So what I did was I went into our utility room and I sat there all night sending out emails and phoning radio stations in Australia. And I caught it just quite right. When you ring Australia, I'm Irish, I'm Northern Irish, but they don't know the difference between Southern and Northern. And it was St Patrick's Day was coming up. I done an absolute rack of St Patrick's Day's adverts for the whole of Australia. It was just hit it lucky. But obviously I was working my balls off, or my ball. I don't mean to do that all the time. And I'm going to touch my balls again. Because I got a fake one in, by the way. So I was working like a trooper, really trying to break this market, and nobody in Northern Ireland would give me a chance. Absolutely none of the radio stations, nothing. So I brought all this work back from Australia. They gave me sent all this work over, and I got my first job at Cool FM. And then it was Q Radio, and then it was over to London and Sky, and then it was UTV, and then production houses. And then, as Gary mentioned, doing the on-board marketing. So whenever you ring into a business like Hughes Insurance or, Electric Ireland, to top up your keypad meter, please press 1. I started doing this subbing for a company, and my wife said to me again, because everybody thinks I can do everything, but you can't. She says, you could do this on your own. So I started contacting businesses myself and saying, this is the service I provide, we can do this, we can do that, blah, blah, blah. So that started to grow, and of course, then people wanted female voice. I can't do a female voice. And they want Southern, Northern, so then Jam Media was formed. So basically now we have 7 full-time staff and pretty much 6 or 7 part-time staff. This all came from me sitting in my utility room when no one would give me any work. And I just went to Australia, told them I was Irish, so they believed me, and the rest was history. And we're obviously growing now. We're moving to new offices, and we're recruiting for another 2 members of staff. But again, when I got them no's, I could have just given up, but I don't give up. I always give it annoyingly, really go for it, and just really draw on, I think, the biggest thing, having cancer, recovering from that, and then my brother drowning. I was like, flip, I still go, flip, I could have died. So collectively, those things, it's nearly like as you go along, you need this reaffirmation that you're quite strong and you can draw from things. I wish it would bloody stop. So Then last year, which is my 5th thing, my auntie died. My auntie brought me up, she fostered me, brought me on, like literally gave me the life that I have now, encouraged me. When I was leaving the house, she always stood at the door, waved me away until I drove out of the street. Yet when we were kids and the door was left open for 1 second, close the bloody door, the heating's on! You know, and she was just an amazing woman, and she died very suddenly last year in bed with no illness. It was absolutely broke my heart. So that, you know, so I done the talk at the funeral, nobody else would do it. Again, Aaron could do this. It was awful doing it. Done the coffin, organised a lot of the funeral, and it was grand. And then I was in work. We were in about 2 days after the funeral. I didn't take any time off, which I should have done. 2 days after the funeral, I was in the boardroom and work. We'd started a new member of staff, and literally from nowhere, I thought I was having a heart attack. It was horrendous. I walked out of the room. Matt was there. Matt said, "What's wrong? You're really right." And I said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." Genuinely thought I was having a heart attack. So it turns out anyway, long story short, anxiety. Oh my goodness. If anyone has ever had anxiety, oh my goodness. 8 months last year. I would say for 3 months to 4 months, every single day, I was concentrating on breathing. My chest was sore, it was tight. No matter what I was doing, I was going into work being, "Come on, let's go, keep her lit." Inside, I literally was just concentrating on breathing. Then in the middle of that, my wife, last March, absolute wonder woman, love of my life, met her when I was 20. She seen this Action Cancer bus in the shopping centre, and her friend had not long died of breast cancer. Nobody knows this, I've never told anybody, this has been flipping 3-4 people know this. And if you're under 50, you can't get a breast scan on the NHS. I think I'm right in saying that. But this Action Cancer bus, you can go make an appointment and then you go and get your breast scanned on the Lisburn Road. So in the middle of my worst anxiety, we're employing new staff, which I've never had this before, this anxiety blew my mind. It's the hardest thing to explain. The doctors was trying to give me medicine and prescription, but I refused to take it all. I was trying to get myself out into the great outdoors, went for all, genuinely thought it was a heart attack, ECGs, and the Ulster on these running machines, everything, heart 100%, pure anxiety. So my wife went for this scan anyway, didn't even think about it, it's just one of those things. Letter comes back, we've found stuff on your breast. It was, I think I took it worse than her. It was like an elephant in the room, she wouldn't talk about it. I contacted, behind her back I suppose, private hospital to try and go private because it was only NHS. I rang and spoke to Friends of Cancer Centre, explained what the letter had said and what it was, and she had to go for an in-depth scan in the Ulster Hospital. And they were chatting, and I said, "Just cut through the bullshit and tell me what has happened here." And it wasn't really what I wanted to hear. So we went then for these in-depth scans. Now still nothing was confirmed, but this was at the height of my anxiety, and I couldn't even speak to my wife about it because, again, it was like going back to my childhood. It was on my own, I didn't have anyone to talk about it, I didn't have anyone to know about it, I couldn't talk to her about it. And I remember sitting in the car park, 9 AM, wasn't allowed to go in, pandemic. Came to 9:30, 9:45, and that was it. I thought, God, this is the worst ever. It was horrendous. But it was clear. It was nothing to do with cancer. That month, or those months, was the worst anxiety ever. And I think, not knocking doctors or anything because they're amazing, but it was just too much handing out prescriptions, handing out medication, do this, do that. Whereas I decided, I actually seen this video. If anyone's ever had anxiety, I watched this video and it was talking about my anxiety this and my anxiety that and my anxiety, and the guy said, "It's not your anxiety, you don't own it. It's not, stop saying my anxiety, it's not yours. It's just there, but it'll go." So, I do lots of walks and runs and you know, I changed my diet a bit, and this all came from trauma. That's what it came from. It was trauma of my auntie who brought me up, and that's where it all stemmed from. And it was very, very difficult to get through. Touch wood, it's been gone for months, and I feel like, you know, because even during, I told my wife, don't even tell the kids about this, because like your kids are like, Dad will sort this, Dad will do this, Dad, Aaron will do this, Aaron will do that, and I actually was like, don't tell anybody. So it's a bit of a moment actually, you know, talking about it, but again, fed up with these things happening, but it's when these tough things happen, it's where you really draw, it's really where you draw, I suppose, courage, resilience. It's where you choose, I think you choose in your own head, so I would always encourage people to try and choose the positive route. Big thing, surround yourself with the right people. If you have assholes in your life, cut them out. It sounds horrible, but even if those people are in your family, I've decided cut them out. And I find that has put me in a cracking place. I feel like I can literally take on the world. I'm not bulletproof. I would have probably told you 2-3 years ago I'm bulletproof. Absolutely not. No one is. But I think those life experiences, if you can use them to really just try and encourage yourself, to see them as a way to actually move forward. That's what I see as resilience. Hopefully, I don't have any other instances here in the next few years, and we can just carry on, cracking on, keeping our lip. So yeah, that's my view. That's my journey. That's what I see as being resilient. It's just trying to be strong. It doesn't mean that you're superhuman and you're super strong and you're super this, because we're not. But it's really just trying to deal with them things in the right way. And I personally find, like, I work a lot of hours, see the great outdoors. It is immense. It clears the head, the mind, the body, the soul. It's the best place to be. So I'm going to have a 4-pack of Guinness now, Gary. Thank you so much.